She suffers from such a rare disorder of being unable to just be a human.
A deep dive into Meghan Markle's ever-changing face. Same woman, different faces. I have nothing against plastic surgery. God knows if I could afford it, I'd probably have something done. But Meghan Markle takes this to a completely different level. Believe it or not, you're gonna see and you're gonna tell me that if you saw these two women out in the street, you would think that they're the same one.
Stop right there. This was never about looks. It never was. If it were, this story would have ended years ago. When Candace Owens talked about Meghan Markle, she didn't count cheekbones or argue over surgeries. She did something way more uncomfortable. She questioned the timing. She noticed the pattern and she straight up asked why.
Growing speculation that Meghan Markle went under the knife before her Paris disaster trip designed to traumatize Prince Harry, with that journey through Paris emulating.
Always pops up right after pressure hits. That's why this story refuses to die. People didn't wake up mad about cosmetic work. Hollywood is loaded with it. What caught attention was something else. A rhythm. A cycle. Disappear. Silence. Come back. Sharper face. New look. Fresh explanation. Then rinse and repeat.
Gone into the doctor and said, give me this look. Like, because these trans, I don't know, we just call it trans women, look now like the Hollywood girls. They're all getting the same, like the buccal fat removal.
Pay attention here. Once the public spots a pattern, the face stops being just a face. It becomes proof. Not of vanity, but proof of control. Control of the narrative, control of criticism, control of perception. Candace gave words to what people were feeling, but couldn't explain. You can't preach authenticity while editing yourself out of every uncomfortable moment. You can't sell empowerment and then vanish the second cracks appear. This isn't judgment, it's sequence. Most people missed it, but not you. You sensed the disconnect before the headlines caught up. You noticed how changes synced with backlash. How reinvention followed controversy like clockwork. And here's the question no one can answer. If the image keeps shifting to dodge pressure, what happens when the pressure never stops? To get why trust started to crack? We have to rewind. Back before fame, back before the branding, back before the image needed protection.
I do believe that Meghan Markle did have a conservative rhinoplasty surgery. Now, this nose job did a lot for Meghan Markle. What it did was it brought focus back to her gorgeous eyes and her beautiful smile. A nose really can't make you beautiful because she was already beautiful. This just put the focus back on her other gorgeous features.
Make it end. Make it end. What is...
Look at early photos of Meghan Markle. A face still finding itself. Softer lines, broader nasal base, rounded tip, full brows, youth, not effort, nothing sharp, nothing sculpted, nothing performing. Pause here. Most people skip over this stage, but you didn't. This part matters way more than it seems. Surgeons will tell you rounded or bulbous tips aren't flaws. They're strong, functional, normal. Sometimes they even help with breathing.
You can see that Meghan has a great curl to her hair. She has a youthful infrabrow fullness. She has a flatter nasal bridge, a broad nasal base, and some tip bulbosity.
These features didn't need fixing. They were just anatomy. But in the early 20s, subtle shifts show up. Hairline tighter, brows shaped, smile brighter, dental. Tweaks, maybe veneers. Not shocking, not unusual, but it marks the moment when observation replaces assumption. A shift from natural growth to intentional polish.
Looking at her appearance from 5 years ago when she was 39, her features have a softer quality to them. Now at 44, there is a notable shift in how more youthful her face looks, and it looks significantly more defined and lifted. While weight loss can enhance facial definition, that alone does not account for the changes that we're seeing here. I think she's had an upper and lower blepharoplasty and a face and neck lift. The upper eyelids are more on show, there's less skin around the under eye area, and the lower facial contour speaks for itself. Comparing this photo from 2021 to now, the tragus has been slightly altered and the earlobe position has changed in position and also how it attaches to the face.
From letting the face mature to managing how it reads on camera, fans start noticing she had strong bone structure, full lips, features people pay big money for later. So, the quiet question forms, why refine what already worked? Because when authenticity becomes a brand, early choices take on new meaning. They're setting the stage, planning ahead, thinking long game. Nothing wild happens yet, but the path is laid. And once that path is set, the changes don't stop. By the mid-20s, the face still looks familiar, but it's no longer untouched. This is the stage people can't quite put into words. They say, I can't point to one thing, but something's different.
And I'm also going to tell you by the end of it what I think about those rumors that she may have had some Botox. Well, here she is at the age of 17, and here she is at the age of 25. And this is who I consider to be the natural young Meghan Markle, before she may have had anything done.
Cheekbones pop a little more in some photos. The jawline looks firmer. The smile shows more upper teeth. Even when the face is relaxed, the lips seem sharper, more defined without screaming, something's done. On its own, none of this proves anything. Together, though, it starts feeling intentional. Here's why this stage is crucial. Surgeons often note that features most chase later in life. Visible tooth show, short balanced lip shape, already appear here naturally. These are traits patients request after refresh procedures. But at this age, those traits are already showing up. So, the question shifts quietly. Not what was done, but why polish it all? Why tighten, sharpen, or sculpt something that already photographs beautifully?
Now let's take a peek at her 7 years later at the age of 32. Now she's made it big in Hollywood, and what are we seeing with her nose? Has it been thinned a little bit? I think it's definitely possible that she's had some very conservative thinning of her nose and maybe even a little projection added.
This is where preparation enters the conversation, preparing for scrutiny, for close-ups, for red carpets, for a future where every angle is dissected. Nothing explodes yet. No headlines, no outrage. But in the audience's mind, something subtle clicks. They stop seeing natural growth and start seeing direction. These changes no longer read as time passing. They read as steps. When one feature shifts, the whole face seems to follow, impossible to ignore. By the early 30s, the conversation pivots. People stop saying, she looks different. They start saying, that feature isn't the same. And the feature that keeps getting mentioned, the nose.
Meghan Markle, the Royal Duchess, is influencing trends worldwide, including plastic surgery.
She's beautiful. I mean, her nose is just striking.
Yes, that nose. Pure perfection.
Early images show a wider base, softer bridge, rounded tip. Over time, the structure appears tighter, the base narrower, the tip refined, the profile looks straighter. Everything feels more streamlined, more deliberate. This is where casual speculation dies. Doctors say changes like this rarely come from makeup, angles, or lighting. To narrow a nasal base or refine a tip, cartilage has to be adjusted, shaped, secured. That's structural work. And when structure changes, it shifts everything around it.
One of the things that's pretty obvious is probably in her 20s or 30s or sometime around, a little bit younger, she did her nose. Rhinoplasty, again, is something that the noses don't naturally shrink, take more contour, the tip doesn't raise, nostrils don't come in on their own. So I'm kind of giving away, but that's what I noticed in her nose. So if we look at her when she was younger, her nose was more bulbous, the nostrils were a little wider, the bridge of her nose wasn't as defined. And then as we move into, like I said, photos of her a little bit older, we see that the nose has shrunk down. The tip looks like possible tip graft and more tip projection, as well as the nostrils narrowing, bridge being more defined. So those are all telltale signs of a rhinoplasty being done.
Viewers notice the space between the nose and the upper lip. They point out the philtrum looks longer. Surgeons explain this can happen after nasal tip work, and some patients later chase lip tweaks just to rebalance proportions. That detail sticks because it suggests sequence. One change leads to another. One adjustment creating the next, a domino effect. This is the moment many viewers mark as the turning point. Not because the face looks bad, but because it feels unfamiliar, less organic, more designed. The natural rhythm is replaced by direction. And suddenly, the face isn't just a face anymore. It's a statement. This is when a phrase starts appearing over and over in comments. She stopped looking like herself. Once that thought sticks, it's hard to shake. And after this, something even more suspicious starts than any single procedure. She doesn't just look different. She starts disappearing. After the structural changes, a new pattern quietly forms. She doesn't just evolve, she vanishes. Not permanently, not announced, just long stretches of silence. No red carpets, no casual sightings, no steady rhythm. And then boom, she's back.